Ladies and gentlemen, we're continuing in Luke 9. Verse 18 says, "And it came to pass, as he was alone praying, his disciples were with him. And he asked them, saying, Who do people say I am? And they answered, John the Baptist. But some say, Elijah. And others say, one of the old prophets risen again. And he said to them, But whom do you say I am? Peter answering said, The Christ of God, or the Messiah. And he charged them and commanded them to tell no man such a thing, saying, The Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised the third day. And he said to them all, If any man comes following me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. Whoever will save his life, he will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man to gain if he gains the whole world, but he loses himself, or is cast away? Now, in short, Jesus kind of just messed up the whole idea of what most people think life is about. Most people think life is about security. They think it's about acquiring as much as you can and living as best as you can and enjoying yourself as much as you can. This is the concept most people have of life. Jesus completely throws that on its head. He's telling his disciples, don't spread that I am the Messiah. Don't spread good news about me because, see, I have to be rejected by the chosen people. I have to be killed so that I can rise again. And he goes on to say, if you want to follow me, you have to deny all the things that you feel you should get in life. Life is not just about pleasing yourself and what you think is enjoyment in just pleasuring yourself. Making sure you get the best possible things you could possibly get in life. That's not what it's about. And Jesus throws the thing on its head because he says life is really about helping others, denying yourself, not trying to save your life, but instead looking to share good things in your life with others. And if in the process it's so dangerous that you lose your life, you will get it back. So that's the moral of that story, and I just wanted to share that with you. If you look at this picture of Wonder Woman in front of you, this GIF I'm playing over and over again, you see that Wonder Woman makes the sign of the cross, and then she crosses her two hands. The cross, the symbol of the cross means many things, but the symbol of the cross is basically denial of oneself. Jesus didn't try to preserve himself. He didn't go into self-preservation mode. No. He was actually crucified. And in so doing, he was able to form the bridge between mankind and God. If you watch at Man of Steel, his father Jor-El told him he's the bridge between two peoples, the Kryptonians and the Earthlings. Jor-El being taking the position of the divine one, or one from another place, and Kal-El being that bridge between that other place and Earthlings. Wonder Woman is also a bridge between the mortal human world and the divine world. In fact, she says to Chris Pine's character Steve Trevor, we are a bridge between higher knowledge and what you know. So it's not surprising that Wonder Woman stretches out her hands like a bridge, like a crossing, like the cross, and she basically then goes into the sign of love, and that is what she defeats Ares with, pretty much signifying what Christ did, making an open show towards all people, exposing principalities and powers. So I thought I would share that with you guys, the deeper meaning behind some of these movies and why they keep on going back to certain kinds of iconography. No matter if these movies are espousing that belief system or not. It is inevitable, as once Smith said to Neo, and then Neo repeated it back to Smith. Here we have a trinity. This is a concept, again, that really speaks about three different elements becoming one. 3 in Hebrew is the number of wholeness and completeness. There are other numbers, but numbers definitely signify, they have meaning in Hebrew. Numbers are not just arbitrary numeric things, but they also symbols of certain philosophies and ideas. If you look at the symbol for Om and the symbol for 3, they do look quite similar. Om is a resting state of peace and completeness, a state in which there is no need or desire for anything because all things have been satisfied. So no matter what you say or how you look at things, there is a meaning to everything. So as you can see here, there is this trinity. There are all kinds of trinities. I am part of a trinity. I am the second in 3 sons of my parents. And I was also born in the month of February, particularly the 14th day of that month, which is known as Valentine's Day. It is also numerically the middle of the month of February. So if you believe in astrology, astronomy, you can go ahead and do your research and homework on me and understand why I behave how I do. But besides that, the point is that I've always been preconditioned, and my whole purpose for being on this planet is because I am supposed to guide people, show people the way of love. That is just what I was born and purposed on this planet to do. And so that's why I do these videos to mass audiences and as far as possible. So that is my purpose. So when Diana has a similar purpose to what I have, even though a mythical character, I easily harmonize with it. If you notice, as I said before, Diana is the central part of the Trinity. The core of the Trinity is feminine. And remember, Diana conforms to the principle of love. Why this is so integral is because if you go and read Corinthians chapter 13, and if you go and read, say, Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, or any sacred book for that matter, doesn't really matter, there is such a thing as love. It can be called charity. It can be called charity in the ubiquitous meaning that charity is given to be. And what I mean by ubiquitous, commonly people think charity is giving alms, or, as they say, giving things to poor, needy people. This is what sometimes people call charitable organizations. You donate things to charity, right? So whether you think of love as charity, or whether you think of love in a broader sense, the truth be told, it is generally personified as a woman. So it is no surprise that Wonder Woman is the central focus of this Trinity, this completeness. Now, let us be absolutely and sincerely honest with you that the Trinity concept is not a Christian one. It's actually, some people will argue, a pagan concept. Other people will argue that it is a concept from the beginning, from the Sumerian empires and onwards. However you look at this concept, the truth be told, you will see it in almost every single civilization. Now, the modern day mythos, superhero mythos, is grounded in this particular concept. You'll find trinities all over the place if you really want to pay attention and actually look for them. But in this case, this one is a very prominent one because we talk about the 3 superheroes. Now, what's interesting is the gradation of the superheroes. Let me explain what I mean. Superman is not human in any way, shape, or form. He has nothing to do with planet Earth except that he is an illegal alien here who has been taught the ways of Earth, and he is assimilated into earthly living. But he is not earthly at all. Wonder Woman is earthly in that her mother, according to the DCEU, was created to show love to the earth and all the Amazons, and they came from the earth. Zeus created them, and they came from the sea onto land with humans. They are actually after the human mankind. Diana is specifically interesting in that she's half divine, half earthly. She's not human, but she's earthly. And this means that because she's an Amazon, not any kind of Amazon, but she's an Amazon, and she's also the daughter of Zeus, she is earthly, at least more earthly than Superman is, but yet at the same time, she is not really acquainted with earthly ways when she's first introduced to mankind. So she's slightly different to Kal-El. And then finally, the last element of the trilogy is fully earthly. Alright, he is Batman. He's a man, and he has no unearthly kinds of anything. He's a man. Now, what is interesting about this Trinity is it actually translates also to Scripture. The Trinity carries the three separate understandings of the nature of God in man. What do I mean by this? First, you have the Son of God. Before the Son of God could be the Son of God, he was God. So Jesus actually has no earthly nature in his divine nature, meaning he's not capable of sinning at this point in time. He is sinless, and he will always be sinless at this point in time. The second nature is what we call the dual nature. This is, there is an earthly part of Jesus being born of a virgin, but there is also a divine form of him because he is the Son of God. And that is characterized and epitomized in Diana. And then finally, he's also earthly. He is completely a human in the sense that Batman symbolizes the mankind or Son of Man aspect of Jesus. So Jesus is both completely divine in that he is literally not of this world. That would be Kal-El. He is earthly, but he's also divine, which would be epitomized by Diana. And he is earthly, period, which is epitomized by Batman. It is the tri-nature of Jesus Christ. What some people call the Godhead, some other people call him the triunal nature of God. And I thought that I would just use the comic to express this and explain it to you as much as is possible. Even though I live very far away from you, there's depth to these things that I think some people do not quite understand. Now, why is it we always come back to biblical things? Why does Hollywood meditate on biblical things so much? I'm only talking about Hollywood for now. There are other woods out there, but we talk about Hollywood. Well, let me be honest with you guys. The name Hollywood is actually a corruption of the word holy wood, as in neighborhood. Okay? This is the Hollywood, or the holy word, or however you want to look at them. So that's why you have stars in Hollywood. Okay? I can go on and on and on about all kinds of things and how they're related to all kinds of things if I wanted to. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to discuss comic books, particularly Wonder Woman at this point in time. But comic lore is grounded in mythos, which is grounded in truth. This is why people gravitate to it. Okay? It's not just the fantastic stories that we all get involved in. It's the symbology. See, there's symbols all over the place. There's a symbol here, there's a symbol here, there's a symbol up here, there's a symbol down here, there's a symbol down here. Oh, Wonder Woman is actually littered with symbols. But the point anyway is that there is a lot of symbolism and metaphors and everything that's going on. And since the beginning of time, whether you go to the Egyptian culture with Amun, you have Seth, you have Ra, you have Osiris, You have Isis, a June. Okay, if you're going Hinduism, you have a June who's Jun. You have Krishna. You have Vishnu. You have what's her name? I forgot her name. There's always a female side somewhere in there. But the point anyway is that no matter what culture you look at, even Buddhism, you look at any kind of culture, you're going to find this triunity. And it's always two males, one female in the center. And the key to it is, it's called what some people call the balance of chakra, the balance of power. It doesn't really matter what you call it. At the end of the day, it's the balance between the kind side of a human being, the aggressive side of the human being, and the rulership side of the human being. There are key points of, or shall I say psyche for now? There are key points of our psyche that are under rulership under other key points of our psyche. That's what makes us be or behave or conduct ourselves certain ways. And without going super deep into anything else, because I could go way down the well, but I don't feel like doing that. The important thing is this. At the end of the day, the most important thing that we need to always think about is love. There is no other thing greater than that. It is not fully describable, so if you try to describe love to someone else, it will make no sense. It is better to show it. And love is not just romantic love. That's an aspect of love, and pure, true romantic love is fueled by what we call agape, or the general love for mankind. So you really can't have romantic love without agape, as they like to call it. So, however, whatever culture, whatever you understand this to be. And there's something called humanism, to which I know that Zack Snyder kind of propones. He's a proponent of humanism, but he's not devoid of understanding that humanism is linked to other things. I have no problem talking about humanism, but I do not believe in humanism and that's it. Humanism and that's it. You know, I don't believe that the buck stops right there. I always believe there is a divine, unseen nature that gives prerogative to everything. And I think that's where, again, Wonder Woman ends by saying that love can truly save the world. But again, love seems like an abstraction to a lot of people. Even though we do it all the time, we are constantly under its influence all the time. If you care about anything, and love and care is pretty much the principle through which everything goes. If you care about anything, then that is what is your motivation to do whatever you are doing. It doesn't matter what it is. And truthfully, if you have had children, you'll understand what we're talking about. And you care for them, right? But the principle of anything coming into existence had to have come into existence because of love. There is no other reason for things to come into existence, no matter what they are, whether they are good or evil. These things came into existence because of a love, a desire for these things to come into existence. They would not come into existence otherwise. This is why I am pretty clear that love is the key to all things. Whether it's things beginning or things ending, it's the key. So here I show you the actual Trinity as was broadcast in the movie itself. And there I showed you an animated version of them. And they look pretty much very similar, which is pretty awesome. Let me zoom in a little bit more on this one. And you can see them here in their splendor. I think the animator did, the drawer did an excellent job of animating them, because that looks pretty much spot on, don't you think? That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I'm liking it. And of course, I really appreciated Batman v Superman. I cannot say how many times I appreciated it. Which, by the way, I was looking at some reviews of Michael Bay's Transformers, and even guys who really like Transformers franchise, at least some of them, were somewhat disappointed with the franchise. I haven't watched any Transformer movie besides Transformers 1 and 2, I think. I have not really gotten through the other Transformers. They never really appealed to me much. Other people can get things out of them that just never happen with me. And sometimes I was chuckling at some of the people who you can see that they're not really trying to put down the movie. It's just they're very disappointed with it. And that's kind of sad. But, I mean, if you can get something out of the Transformers franchise, then kudos to you. I mean, I don't believe... Okay, let me put it this way. A lot of people were crazy off of Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2. I mean, Martin Lawrence was hilarious in Bad Boys 2. Michael Bay film, right? I wasn't hot up on Bad Boys 2, to be honest with you, right? People are hyped on Transformers. And, you know, a lot of people are really angry that, you know, other people are liking Transformers, saying, don't go watch this film. Look. Don't ever tell somebody, don't go watch a film. Don't tell them that. That's being very presumptuous. You do not know what they like and so on. Okay? Remember, people don't always go to movies to get a good story, to get some sort of emotional burst. Sometimes people just go to enjoy themselves. People go to parties to enjoy themselves. They don't really necessarily go to switch on their brain and to identify and harmonize with characters, or to get great characters or anything like that. So Transformers, for the masses, they're going to gobble it up. Like I said, there's a formula to Transformers. It's working. If you go in there expecting something else, then that's on you. You know what I mean? So it shouldn't be disappointed with the Transformers franchise. It's Transformers. It doesn't have to have no story plot, no storyline. It doesn't have to make 100 million degrees of success. I liked The Rock when I saw the movie The Rock with Sean Connery and forgot what his name, Nicolas Cage. That was a good movie. What else did I like that Michael Bay did? He did a number of films that I like, but I kind of knew early on not to waste my time with Transformers. I saw the first one, which was decent. People say it was a great film and all of that. I guess the novelty of the film probably hit them right. I didn't find it all that great. And as I said before, I think of Transformers differently to how Michael Bay thinks of Transformers. He gives a lot of detail, but I can't really find my way around the screen with his stuff. I can't see what they're actually doing. Some things are really cool when the cars transform and stuff. But for the most part, I just can't follow what he's doing with the Transformers. So for me, I was already disengaged with Transformers franchise. But I will come around to watching them at some point in time. I will. It's just, I got to tell you guys, I don't see anything that wants to pull me to go see a Transformers movie. Does that mean that people shouldn't go and see Transformers? Absolutely not. Have a blast. Knock yourself out. Okay, so that's just my take on Transformers. Just a byword, by the way, kind of thing, because this video is going to be a little bit long. It's almost 1 o'clock in the day. So, yes. So I just wanted to give you some value about the Trinities, and there's so many different things. Of course, this is coming from a Christian perspective about the Trinity. But what is cool about this, which I didn't really elaborate that much on, but it's still okay, is that the characters you see here, now they go from... There are different levels of mythos, okay? There are different levels of mythos. You have the comic books. When you're dealing with DC characters, that is. You got the comic books. Then you got the animated series. The animated series takes the comic now and gives movement to the mythos. But there's nothing quite like taking a mythos and actually bringing it into live action, where you actually have living, breathing people. It's not an animation anymore. It's living, breathing people actually playing the roles of these characters. And all of a sudden, the mythos, when you're doing a mythos like that, you kind of demytholize the characters a bit and make them human. And what's so interesting about this is, most of the time, if you look at Wonder Woman the movie, for instance, at no time in the movie do they call her Wonder Woman. She's called Diana throughout the movie. She's Diana. Even when she declares herself as Wonder Woman, she's Diana. In Superman, Man of Steel, until up to the very end, I think it was the final 30 minutes of the movie, Kal-El, aka Clark Kent, wasn't called Superman. He was called Clark, or Kal-El, right? And for most of the film, he was called Kal-El or Clark. I think it was a military guy that called him Superman, right? When we look at Batman v Superman, the introduction of Batman. Batman wasn't called Batman for the majority of the movie. He was called Bruce. Bruce. So what live action is able to do is it's able to demythalize mythic, huge, fantastic characters that we generally look at bigger than they really are. That was the opportunity to do that. Unfortunately, Marvel doesn't do that exactly. They don't approach it that way with their characters. But DC does. The DCEU does. And I find that fantastic. The other thing that's very interesting. Now, if you look at the backdrop and the background here, it looks dismal and dark and gloomy and whatever. But that is actually following in the vein of Tim Burton, his first Batman. It's also following in the vein of even Christopher Nolan to some degree. Christopher Nolan's he's really more about realism. But Warner Brothers has been throughout the times, especially after Tim Burton's Batman, it's been about recreating realistic settings. If you look at Tim Burton's Batman, especially the 1989 and the 1992 Batman, literally Tim Burton built a stage where they recreated literal city scenes. They wanted it to look real. Okay, so it was a huge set and they did all of this stuff on the set. And my point being this. My point is, realism didn't start with Christopher Nolan. A lot of people don't know about the 1989 Batman that really changed the game. That was a game changer. That's where they really started making comic book movies after Tim Burton's Batman. In fact, the reputation of Batman being saying that I am Batman, that came from the Tim Burton 1989 movie. Okay? That's where this I'm Batman thing and everybody just says I am Batman came from. Batman is probably the most done comic book movie of all the comic book movies out there. Okay? So Batman is in history really the comic book movie that set the trend. It wasn't Superman. Now Superman was the very first comic book movie to set off these comic book movies stuff with Donner. Tim Burton, whether you guys want to accept it or not, is the one that actually pushed comic book movies to what they are today. The modern comic book movie with the realism and all of that and stuff, it's Tim Burton's Batman that actually triggered it off. Okay, not Christopher Nolan. Everybody want to talk about Christopher Nolan's work was a great work of art. No. Christopher Nolan, he's cool and everything, and some people think the Dark Knight trilogy is untouchable and the Dark Knight movie was the greatest. No. Tim Burton is the one who really set the tone for how comic book movies in the future would be. In fact, even Spider-Man, even though it was kind of comic booky in how the set design was of Spider-Man, really followed after the Tim Burton Batman. Okay, give you a different feel, different look. Okay, so Tim Burton's Batman is responsible for that, and Zack Snyder really, I think, paid tribute to Tim Burton because if you look at the design of this cowl and everything about this Batman suit, it really follows in line with what Tim Burton was starting to do. He didn't quite do it, but I mean, up to this day, if you ask me who has the best cowl, the best Batman cowl and the best Batman look, it's not Ben Affleck. It is, I'm telling you, I'm asking you, go and look at him, the iconic Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton fit Batman so well that he's still the best looking Batman in a cowl. It sure as hell ain't Christian Bale. Okay, Tim Burton did an excellent job of picking Michael Keaton as Batman. The way how I think of Batman sometimes, and I just went back and watched Batman 1989, some clips of it, and the 1992 Batman clips, Michael Keaton killed it with both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Okay, he was a little stiff and all of that, and we know, and some of the design looks stupid, but I mean, when it comes to how Batman is, Michael Keaton set the bar for what it was. Okay, that's why when I saw Christian Bale's rendition of Batman, I was like, hell no, that ain't Batman. And then when Ben Affleck came back, I didn't see it for Val Kilmer. He didn't capture Batman for me. I never was interested in Batman Forever. You never hear me talking about it too much. When George Clooney played the Batman, he kind of looked like Batman. He got a big chin, but he didn't behave like Batman. He was just on spoof I mean, he was just joke after joke after joke. I couldn't take it. And Batman's not that kind of guy. Then we had Christopher Nolan's Christian Bale Batman, which I still hate it to this day. I can't understand how that was ever Batman. And I think Christian Bale, he kind of feels a little bad about it himself. Even though, I gotta admit though, the story wasn't so bad. But oh my god, that was the worst. I think out of all the Batmans I've seen, Christian Bale's Batman is just one up better than George Clooney's Batman. I think Val Kilmer's Batman is better than Christian Bale's Batman. I don't understand what Christian Bale was thinking, given that out of the way kind of really goofy sounding voice. How you gonna scare people with that voice? I never got it. And I guess people had all these memes on Christian Bale's voice and as if he's a retard, almost like those Rocky memes, you know what I mean? That's not Batman. Batman don't talk like that, okay? Then came Ben Affleck's Batman. We're still waiting for his standalone movie. That would be awesome. But Ben Affleck's Batman is the scariest Batman. That's what I think of. When I think of Batman, what Ben Affleck was able to do was create that big aura and mythos behind Batman. You really bought into the mythos of Batman. I think that's the thing that Michael Keaton's Batman wasn't able to do. He wasn't that intimidating. The actors had to behave intimidated to make you feel that Michael Keaton's Batman was intimidating. This is looking back at it. Looking back at it now. When I was a kid, Michael Keaton's Batman looked freaking intimidating, okay? And it looked like he couldn't get killed, okay? But now, looking forward, looking back at it, he didn't look that scary. I mean, the music was really trying to ramp it up. Elfman's music was like making you feel, oh my god, here's this strange looking vampire bat thing. Because they thought that the bat sucked the blood out of his victims and then threw them down. I mean, that was the aura behind the Bat at the time, you know, in 1989. It was pretty awesome. I mean, the actors kind of over dramatized it and overacted it, but I get it. That was at that time. But when you look at Ben Affleck's Batman, don't tell me you're not afraid of that Batman. You don't want to meet that Batman. Of course, he was angry as well, but he was scary as hell, man. That Batman was scary, man. And then he's so big. He's like this big hulking Batman. Oh my god, that was just... I mean, it was just awesome how Ben Affleck's Batman... creepy. Talk about scary. I mean, just the way how he sounded. Awesome work by Zack Snyder and Company Limited. And I look forward to seeing this Batman in Justice League. I know he's up against... he's up against opposition that's... he ain't gonna just scare them. But he's bad. You know, Batman's still a badass. You know how it is. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. And basically, as I said before, you know, when you're talking about the Trinity, I think that these three characters are very interesting in that respect. Alright, so here is some fan art. Wonder Woman picking up a tank here. And, of course, in the actual movie, she also picked up a tank. I think she picked up 2 tanks. I think she threw 1 tank. She just charged the tank. It rammed into it. And then she picked it up and flung it. You know, I was like, damn. I mean, she literally charged the tank. You ever seen that before? I have never seen that before, okay? And then she took up the tank and flung it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn. And she was pissed. And Dr. Moreau was right in front of her here. And she picked up the tank. I was going to squash Dr. Moreau. And I mean, when I watched it in the movie the first time, I didn't really get the full impact of it. But then after I had actually done an edit where I saw her pick up the tank, and then you saw Dr. Moreau when she decided not to kill Dr. Moreau, and Dr. Moreau's running away from the tank, it was the first time I saw how much she was a god. Because, I mean, if you keep it unedited, you don't have Diana thinking back and Ares talking to her. And then you see her pick up that tank, and Dr. Moreau is like this little itsy bitsy little human. Like, you know, I'm telling you, man. Shoot, when I see Moreau running away and she just kind of flings the tank away, I'm like, dang. She really is a god. That's scary. I would not like to be in that situation. You know what I mean? So, I thought that was pretty impressive. And then you have her, and some people say she's leaping here. And she can jump very far. And people argue that she didn't really fly anytime in the movie. She was mostly leaping. I don't think so. All right, I'll tell you why I don't think she's leaping. But I can tell you this: she needs to run to be able to glide. I think she may not be flying; she may be gliding. Okay, but here's the other thing: if you go and watch in the movie, there are a number of different points in the movie where she jumps off the ground, right? And if you look at her, when she leaps up in the air, she stays in the air for a little while. And no, this is not slow motion when she leaps up. You literally see her go, and she jumps up in the air. And she's kind of floating in the air a bit. It seems as though she can stay in the air for a little while. Unfortunately, they cut the scene where she leaped off the ground. Ares lifts the ground off from under her. And then she launches at Ares in the air. And Ares pushes her back, repels her back underneath the ground that's lifted up, and he slams the ground down on her. But they don't show the whole thing. The other thing, a lot of people are saying, well, she's a god, so that means she should have powers just like Ares. No, that's not the case. If you've watched my video on the different gods of Olympus, they have different powers and abilities. So Ares, if you listen in the movie, you will hear Ares say, let's see what kind of god you are, right? Let's see what kind of god you are, what you can do. So Ares wanted to see what her powers were. So Diana, just because she's a god or goddess, or some people call her a demigod because she's half god from Zeus, and she's from an Amazon, so she's a sort of demigod. That doesn't mean that the gods can't be killed. Yes, only a god can kill another god, but that does not mean that might be completely true. Maybe a man can kill a god. Maybe mankind can kill a god. If you go in the comics, you see Hercules gets killed. You see a number of gods get killed as well by men. So it's not necessarily that Ares is 100% correct there. But here's the thing. We're talking about our powers and abilities, right? And Ares is saying that there's a lot she does not know about her powers and abilities. Now, clearly, Diana is able to affect the atmosphere around her with some kind of aura or electromagnetic something. Because when Ares was charging at her with all the spears and everything, you saw all the spears and everything just getting destroyed by some kind of force field or energy force or something. And then she just crosses her hands together and then expands them upwards and repels Ares backwards. So she has some kind of extra power. She's able to kind of telepathically or telekinetically do some of the things that Ares was doing before. So Wonder Woman, and she's able to capture the lightning bolt of Zeus or lightning bolt from above. She's able to trap that energy from above on her bracelets and on her hands. And we all know her bracelets or arm guards are there to kind of control her powers. You saw her release her powers against the soldiers who were shooting at her. And she just kind of telekinetically just started knocking soldiers backwards. And then how she broke out of the little tank, the wheel things, the little wheel things that roll on the tank with Ares, it encapsulated her. And she just got so mad, she again telekinetically just blew that thing away. And she also lit up the sky with power and fire and stuff. So she's got a lot of untapped power, Wonder Woman. And that's interesting. It's very interesting about her. She can be wounded. She can be hurt. That's why she has to block bullets and stuff. She can heal pretty fast. So we know that. We know that she can't just fly anywhere. But apparently she can leap. And in leaping she can glide on the air, which is what we see at the end of the movie, which is what you're watching here. So I just wanted to share that stuff with you guys. I love that this is a fan art picture of little baby Diana here doing her thing here in a fighting posture. Notice that the shadow has her hands on her hips. She's seeing herself as a hero later on. It's pretty cool. This is Diana in flight. It's pretty sick. This reminds me of what Antiope was doing. And remember, Diana inherited what Antiope was. She inherited the greatest warrior motif. Here, this is just fantastic art right here. Look at that. with a sword. She's almost looking like Ares here. No face. God of War kind of motif going on there. Pretty awesome. Again, fan art. Here she is. She pulled the soldier in with the lasso and kicked him. Now, I gotta admit, in the movie, some of the lasso work that she was doing, you could tell it was CGI. Some of it was kind of unbelievable. Other parts of it was, even in her fight with Ares when she used the lasso, it was kind of a little bit unbelievable with certain things. But for the most part, I love certain parts of the CGI. But they still have to work on how she actually utilizes her lasso. You know, this is from Batman v Superman. This is her attacking Doomsday. That big old leap. Believe it or not, this is fan art. This is a fan that actually drew this. I think it's pretty well done. Even resembles Gal Gadot somewhat. So I find that really cool. And I love this saying. It says, "It's not what they deserve, it's what you believe." It's Diana was speaking to. She was speaking to Ares. He said, "They don't deserve you." And she said, "It's not what they deserve, it's what I believe. And I believe in love, and only love will truly save the world." You know, she said that at the end of the movie, which is my motif, so I'm totally harmonizing with that. I believe the same. But I don't believe it's just about saving the world. I think love simply is what is necessary for the world to just keep on moving on. So it's not just only about saving the world. What happens after the world is saved? Love carries us on. You know, it's not just about saving the world. So the last thing I want to show you guys, well, there's a couple more things. This video is going to be a little long, as this is really a big tribute to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is actually now in what we call Mythic Wonder Woman form, and you can get it in Injustice, the mobile Injustice game, which is pretty awesome, and I'm going to show you some clips of her. So here she is. This is what she would look like in the mobile Injustice game. It's pretty cool. Here she is facing off, and that is probably the closest I've seen in any game or any virtual reality thing to our appearance that looks like Gal Gadot. Okay? That definitely looks like Gal Gadot there, which is really excellent work. And in the game, she looks like Gal Gadot as well. So I think they did a phenomenal job of getting her likeness in the Injustice games, which is pretty cool. I thought that was tight, and I thought I would share that with you guys. Finally, the last thing I'm going to talk about here is the Amazons. And we have a number of photos of behind-the-scenes pictures of Amazon warriors. I got this from 9 hot trending site, and here we go. Let's look at them. So here is an Amazon warrior. She was a this lady here was she was an archer, and there she is in the Amazon outfit. Really cool. There is another Amazon warrior. These all look like they were athletes or models. Definitely looks like an athlete here. Look at that. She looks like she would kick your ass. Seriously. Okay? But the Amazon warriors were comprised of stunt women, boxers, fighters, CrossFit enthusiasts, and equestrian stunt doubles, as well as Victoria's Secret models. And here are some more of them. Okay, here's some more of them here. There's another one. There's another one. Here's some black ones. And there's another one. And there's another one. You can see these are probably models. This one's an archer. Okay, I know that this lady here is CrossFit trainer. She's trained. She was a dancer, and she's in CrossFit. Man, she is ripped. I'm telling you, man, she looks big and strong. Hulking. Clunging around a bit. Here they are. This is the same CrossFit girl we saw, the CrossFit lady. And this is also a CrossFit trainer. Alright, she's a beast. Look at that. Beast strong. Beast! All of them actually look beast strong. I mean, they look really, really strong. That's really cool. Here you go. This looks like an athlete of some kind. This literally looks like a freaking soldier, man. It's pretty dope. So here they are. And here they are in real life. This is what they would look like normally. Some of them are real tall too, but that's to be expected. So there they are. So I find that really cool. Unfortunately, we still don't have names. There's a Wonder Woman. I don't know what you call that thing. That's pretty cool though. But at the end of the day, we had Ann Wolfe, who was Artemis. And boy, Ann Wolfe is big and strong. You know that. She was 3-time world champion in boxing, heavyweight champion. And we had a number of other notable names. I didn't do a video on that. I don't think I did. But I just wanted to share this with you guys. I thought this movie was awesome in terms of paradigm shifts and just shifting the whole... Because Wonder Woman has that story where you have, you know, the Amazons, and then you had mankind. And I thought that it was a beautiful story to bring together all of those elements that make the film what it is, you know, without compromising anything. And I thought Patty Jenkins really did an excellent job of getting the story really fully told in a very effective way. It wasn't a story where there was no consequence to actions. Everything had a consequence to it, you know. There was always some sacrifice or some, you know, some tragedy that would happen because, you know, every choice that you make has a consequence. I think Zack Snyder was trying to do that same thing with Man of Steel, and in BVS you saw the consequences again of some of the things. But I don't know why people just really dug into both Man of Steel and BVS with a lot of hate, because if you look at Wonder Woman, which I will do in another video sometime, there are a lot of similarities between Wonder Woman and Man of Steel. The difference is that while Wonder Woman didn't completely know who she was, she had some storyline. She always had a goal or a mission in mind of what she wanted to do, because she had heard this story from her mother all the time. I think in Man of Steel, Clark had to find out what his purpose was, what his mission was. He was always doing good. We saw him, his father was telling him he had to temper in doing good. You can't just do good for everybody, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you can't just be discovered like that. But basically, Clark had that predisposition because his parents taught him that way. And interestingly enough, both Clark and Diana had to find their way. It took Clark, I think, 2 movies to find his way, actually. Because with Clark, it was a little bit different in that he had to know who he was, where he came from. Then he found out this responsibility that his Kryptonian father had for him, whereas his earthly father had a different idea or purpose for him. With Diana, her mother, the Amazonian mother, she had a different purpose for her. But she always put certain values into Diana, so that Diana, though she went against her mother's wishes most of the time, it wasn't again because of the values that her mother put into her. It wasn't because of that. It was because she had a purpose that her mother was trying to make her avoid. Again, the parent of a child would generally want to protect them. You saw that in Man of Steel and BVS, and you saw that also in Wonder Woman. So, you know, when you look at these movies, that's kind of package, and there's a lot. Man of Steel and Wonder Woman have a lot in common, those 2 movies. That's why I said, now the only thing with Man of Steel, and I'm just gonna go through this really quickly. Man of Steel was a movie which it's very, in fact, I'm not even sure if Wonder Woman, if they ever put the title for Wonder Woman. Anybody saw the title for Wonder Woman? Did it say Wonder Woman in the beginning? I don't remember seeing that. So, Man of Steel and Wonder Woman, I think they began more or less the same way. And if I'm not mistaken, they both began in an otherworldly sort of setting. Diana began on Themyscira, and Man of Steel began on Krypton. The only difference is Kal-El has never been in his home world. Diana has been in hers. But Diana can't make her way back to her home world. And neither can Kal-El. You know, it's pretty interesting. But when I look at the two movies, I mean, all you have to do is take Man of Steel, take Wonder Woman, and run the two movies parallel, side by side. You will see so many comparisons between the two movies. It's not funny. And that's why I can't understand why Man of Steel is 55% on Rotten Tomatoes and Wonder Woman is 92%. I just don't get it because, you know, a lot of people have talked about the rewatchability of Man of Steel, but besides that, I think it's a lot more elaborate film. I mean, from the Kryptonian, you know, lingo, from the get-go, from the opening credits of Man of Steel, you're seeing the Kryptonian lingo in front of you. So I don't know. I don't know how people take these things. I think Zack kind of introduced this different world, and I think people are getting accustomed to it now and settling into it. I think Suicide Squad, you know, elaborated on the characters. People say that the plot was thin. I even heard Jeff Johns saying the plot was thin. And I thought it was a suitable plot, to be honest with you, for that kind of story. I think if they tried to be a little too elaborate with the plot, then the characters would actually have suffered, and it would have been a cluster, you know, cluster F. So I think that the plot was just right for that kind of movie, which was just a totally different kind of look of movie and everything. I thought that Batman v Superman had a lot going on, and they put it in a non-linear fashion where you had to think to follow the movie. So the theatrical cut of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman was just, it was going to be difficult for just a casual fan who just comes in there to just, but then I think most people followed the movie anyway, so they were confused at certain parts of it, but they followed it more or less. But the ultimate cut was much more flushed out in terms of being linear. But I still don't understand what was the problem with Man of Steel. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't get it. I think Man of Steel was one of the better films in terms of linearity and the story and, you know, almost straightforward nature to it. Like Wonder Woman. Man of Steel and Wonder Woman are pretty much the same. Justice League will be linear as well. Zack Snyder did tell us that that was going to happen. So I guess that's going to fall in line as well. It's going to be easy to follow. So most people, again, are going to be able to follow Justice League and the story being told. And I think that's going to make a big difference. When I listen to people talk about Transformers, it's a big mess and blah, blah, blah. I think it's because, again, these people probably can't follow Transformers. If you can't tell me what the movie is, then you can't be telling me it's a big mess. You have to be able to at least tell me what the movie is doing, what it's about. If you can't do that, then that's a problem. Alright? You can't judge a movie if you can't even follow the story. So if you have to take time to follow the story, do that. Anyway, this has been a super duper 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 long video. And you can always speed up the video. But if you reach this point, then obviously you didn't speed up the video, or you did. But I'll try and give you a heads up in the title section. On that note, you guys have a great day. I'm gone. You're not going to hear anything from me for the rest of the day. Have a good one. Remember, you can donate to my channel. Simply message me, message my channel. Okay? It's not on Facebook. I'm not asking you to message me on Facebook. I'm asking you to message my channel right here on YouTube. You go to the About section. You will see About somewhere in your thing. You click on that, and you click on Message. And you can message me and you say, how can I donate to your channel? I'll tell you how. Alright? You guys have a great one.